dude gave me like time up here when he shouldn't have. I was too drunk and too hot. All right. I love him. He's got a great spirit, dope energy. He's got an amazing special for you guys. Definitely dope. Give it up for this man. He's had this show every week all summer here at Second Sun. Give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up for Drexton Clemons!
I moved to New York 7 years ago from Atlanta. I loved it. I got bit by that New York bug very quick, right? Like everything bad that would happen to me, I just chalked it up to being here, right? Like a rat would run across my foot and I'd be like, New York, baby! You know, just turn it up. You know, I get robbed by an Elmo in the Times Square Olive Garden. You know, I'd be like, well, when you're here, you're family. This is what happens, you know? It's a fun time, right? I love a lot of things about New York. I love the fact that couples argue in the street because there's no room to do it in their apartments. I really love that, right? Like, we're not breaking up rent control. You take that downstairs. You want to go through my phone? We do it on the sidewalk, you know? Right? We argue here, right? And my favorite thing about couples arguing in the street is the argument is never between just the couples. It's always between the couples and the community. Because the community will be involved in the argument whether you want the community to be or not, right? Like if someone's just yelling at this girl like, I love you, I've always loved you. It's like, no we don't, get out of there. Who is yelling this? I'll never cheat on you. He cheated on you last week, girl, get the hell out. Who is yelling this? I'm the rat that ran across your foot. Why? I like the fact that New Yorkers don't care. I love the amount of getting on and not caring that New Yorkers do, right? Because we're busy people, we're always moving. It's New York, there's no time to stop and do anything. That's what New York is about. Like I remember I was in Brooklyn one day, right? I was at the Lorimer stop, right? And I remember like someone hopped in front of the train and the train was delayed, right? So it stopped at the Lorimer stop. And we're like, why is it stopping? The conductor gets on and he's like, hey guys, we're delayed. Someone hopped in front of the train, but don't worry, we're gonna move it as quickly as possible so we can get y'all where you need to be. And for 5 minutes, we were all one people on that train. Everybody was like, oh shit, why would he do that to himself? Like, life is so precious, life is so short. Life is so, like life can be, how quickly can they move the train? Like he's already dead. We can just split him in half and keep going, and then it's easier for the people to get him up. He's 2 pieces now. That would be so much easier because I got a place to be. It's date night. Like people were just being like, oh shit, I'm gonna miss The Wire. Like the Wire's not even on anymore. It's just the binge that they had picked for the night. New Yorkers don't know how to care. They just don't, right? Like, but it made that whole situation made me think about my own death and like how much I want to get on, how much I want to care in my own death, right? Like my black friends, like we all have the ancestors that we call on, right? Like when there's tough moments in black life, we go like, oh, I'm calling the ancestors are gonna help me out. But I don't know if I would be a good ancestor to anybody. I do too much for the plot here that I know I can't be an ancestor up there, right? Because an ancestor should be like, don't go right, go left. You never know, you're gonna find the love of your life. But I'm gonna be like, go right, like, see what happens. See what the trail leads you to, right? Like I tried to learn Spanish. Here's the plot, right? I tried to learn Spanish, right? By learn Spanish, I mean I'm on 112 days on Duolingo. That's where the Spanish is for me. I'm just deep in Duolingo, but I don't know shit. I don't know anything. If you were to throw me in Mexico now, I'm in Mexico. I'm not coming back. I don't know how to direct myself back to America at this point. I cannot survive. I learned one phrase, and I didn't even learn it from Duolingo. I learned it from regular people. I learned this phrase in Spanish called "Ya tú sabes." You know what "Ya tú sabes" is? You already know. That's it. It's "Ya tú sabes." You already know. You just say you already know, and it's got me in some good trouble, and it's got me in some good non-trouble, right? All right, "Ya tú sabes" is a good time, but "Ya tú sabes" sometimes fucks me up. Like I was at a Colombian spot where I live in Astoria, right? And like I did not know anything. People were Spanishing at me. You know, they were word vomiting. Hola. I was like, whatever. Right? And I just was like, "Ya tú sabes," and they looked at each other and brought me every bottle. I don't know how. They're like, clearly he's down for the cause. Bring him all. I had the fireworks. It was a good time. All right, Yato Sabes is a good time. But Yato Sabes sometimes fucks me up. Like, I used to live in Washington Heights, which is a very Spanish area. It's very fun, very Dominican, right? And like, I loved it because like I went from being Drex to Poppy. No matter where I went, I was in Bodega. He was like, "Hola, Poppy, what you need?" I was like, "Today?" Like, I was like, "Wait, ahoy?" Like, I did not know. This felt good to be a Poppy, you know, right? But so like I remember I was drunk one night, right? And all I wanted was some McDonald's. That's all I wanted. I was like, I just need some McDonald's in my system. I'm so drunk. And I walk outside to go ahead to the McDonald's, and some guy starts catcalling me from 2 blocks away. Deep. All I heard was Spanish from a distance. He was like, "Ba-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da." That's how it sounded because I was drunk. And then he gets up to me and he goes, "Poppy, you mad thick, Poppy. Look at you, Poppy. Poppy, you are so sexy, Poppy. Poppy, you so mad thick. You so thick, Poppy. Where are you going right now, Poppy? I want to take you where you're going. You're so thick, Poppy. Let's go," right? And I'm drunk. And I'm like, yo, what would my drunk lady friends do in this situation, right? So I was like, I'm just trying to get to McDonald's, right? And so then he's like, "I'll take you to McDonald's, Poppy. You want to go to McDonald's, Poppy? We go to McDonald's, Poppy. We'll get you whatever you want." And I was like, "Really?" And we were at McDonald's. I yato sabes my way into McDonald's. He was like, "You hungry?" I was like, "Yato sabes." He's like, clearly this man needs it. So we're in McDonald's. I'm ordering everything. Let me get 6 Big Macs. Let me get 6 fries. He's like, "You like the number 6? I was like, "I love it." You know? I didn't know. Right? So I'm knee deep, and he's flirting or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, Poppy, let me take you home, Poppy. Let me take you home. To me, Poppy, look good. Let me take you home. You're so sad. Oh, 6 Big Macs. Oh, you got a big mouth, Poppy. Let me take you home." Right? And I was like, what would my lady friends do in this situation? So I look at him. I was like, I just came out tonight to dance with my friends. I don't want any events. If you can be friends with me, we can be friends. But I cannot do this right now. No, I do too much for the plot. I do way too much for the plot. That's why I had to go into therapy. I had to go to therapy. I was like, I cannot live like this. You know what I mean? I was a Black Eyed Peas song in I was like, where is the love? I need to know where my love is. I need to love myself. So I went to therapy. My therapist was dope, right? But he was hitting me with hard questions. Hard questions I didn't know how to answer. He was like you need to figure out who you are. And that's a big existential question. When I got questions like that, I like to call my grandparents because old people got cookies and answers. Right? You ever eat an old person's food and it tastes like a year? That ever happened to y'all? You're like, "Yo, Grandma, I don't know what happened in 65, but this pie tastes like struggle. I don't need this struggle pie in my life." What is this? Is this bridge? You put bridge over here? This is... But I call my grandmother, you know, because, you know, she's the best, right? And I didn't know at the time that she had just got diagnosed with dementia. Did not know this, right? So I called her. I was like, "Yo, Grandma, I don't know who I am." She was like, "Where are you two?" Who the hell am I? I'm like, "I don't know." So now we're figuring it out together. Me and her every day. I call her. She's like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "I'm Drex." She's like, That's good. That's amazing." And I'm like, "Your grandma." She's like, "Even better. Oh, it's good to know who I am. Let us pray. We be praying. That's how, right? That was her big thing, right? Her big thing was God. My family's big thing is God. My family thinks that God's gonna like solve everything. You know, somebody cheats in the family, they're like, "Let the Lord handle it. The Lord knows better than all," you know? And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." Or you could go to therapy, like whatever you need to do, you know? My grandmother's thing was God. And I love my grandmother, right? She was like, "Read the Bible, you know, it'll make you feel better." So I love her, so I read the Bible, and it turns out the Bible skips everything in Jesus' life between 18 and 30. That's some hoe shit. That's really some hoe shit. Like, only hoes skip large portions of their life like that, right? Like, that's only what, like imagine you went on a date with a dude and you're like, "Yo, tell me about your 20s." Like, "Yo, don't worry about that. Just know I'm a good man now." Like, clearly you fucked something up back there. Let's talk about it. No, I'm good. Like, you don't think there was a chapter of the Bible that got cut out? Some girl walking up to the group being like, "Excuse me, Was Jesus at the club last night? Jesus? Nah, he was getting fish and bread for everybody. Don't worry about him. Follow him is what you should do. I was like, no, that's not. Really? Because I ain't seen him in a few days. Well, that's because he died. That's because he died for you. He died for you because he loves you with all his heart. That's what he told me. John, write that down. That's what he told me. You don't think Jesus hugged? You don't think he had a pickup line? Like, hey girl, what you said? The water, not anymore. Jesus Christ. You know my name. Like, you don't think he had? Every picture we have of Jesus is a thirst trap. Every single one is just like that's thirst trappy as hell. I don't know. You know. But like I said, I read the Bible because, I love her and I did it, right? But she's Bible person now. She's big Bible now. My grandmother was cool as hell, right? She was a party clown. Yeah, party clown. Straight as I didn't know this until very recently. She was a party clown back in the day. She would go to children's birthday parties and write jokes for birthday parties. Right, back in the day, you didn't write jokes. You had to lick down the bottom of the popsicle and then be like, "That's a good one, solid bit," good, and then put it out for the kids. She was ready, right? She was an actress. She was in Driving Miss Daisy. What? Yeah, she did a whole bunch of extra work. She was dope, right? She'd be skip to minute 17:38. You see me waving. I'm like, you on your fetish wop shit? She's like, I say, hey, what's up? Hello. Oh, damn, girl. She's dope. She's the coolest, which was why this week was really hard because Friday my dad called me and said she's got hours or days left to live, right? And I did not know what to do with that information. He calls me while I'm at work. He's like, she has hours or days. Call everyone but your uncle. I said, why? He's like, you know why. Right? And I'll tell y'all why. I was prepared for this because my grandmother died once already, or so we thought. Because my uncle got a call from the nursing home, heard the letter I, hung up the phone, called everybody, and said, your grandmother's dead. She's dead. The nursing home killed us. All I heard was die, die, die. She's gone. We gotta figure it out. And he's sobbing on the phone. He's driving around the city. Everybody's like, "Hey, just park the car." He's like, "I don't know how to anymore. My mama's gone." Everybody's freaking out, thinking that she died. And for 30 minutes, my grandmother was dead. I could not get a hold of my dad. For 30 minutes, I'm stressing the fuck out. My grandmother's dead. What do I do without this woman, right? And I finally got a hold of my dad. And he's like, your uncle is pissing me the fuck off, right? The nursing home called me and said, we don't know how it happened, but she got a UTI. Your uncle heard I, hung up the phone, and called everybody, and I don't know what to do. And mind you, I'm a 30-year-old man in New York City. The only way I've heard about a UTI is sexual. I don't know any old person UTI, so I'm like, yo, she's gotta start peeing after she's done doing what she's doing. In my mind, I was like, has she tried cranberry juice? You gotta get this woman on cranberry juice. Who's at this nursing home fucking my grandmother? Because we gotta get her together. Clearly the hygiene is old school and we gotta get new school hygiene in the nursing homes. I'm starting a nonprofit. I gotta do this, I gotta do it now. Good dick is killing my grandmother. In my mind, I was like, she is getting dicked out so well, she's like, I'm gonna go back to bed. I don't even need to pee. In my mind, George at the nursing home is dicking my grandmother down, and I don't know what to do about it. So, after, she didn't die, I was like, she's gonna live forever. Clearly, this woman's fucking, she can live forever. The 3 hips she's had are working just fine. But this one's real, Friday I get this call, and they're like, she's got hours or days, and it just made me, really think about my family a lot, right? My grandmother became a hoarder later in life, right? She used to work for Eastern Airlines, right? Which nobody remembers because there's only 5 airlines now, right? Eastern Airlines is where she used to work for, and it went under, and they laid off everybody at the airport, right? And she worked there for 27 years. 27 years of her life, she gave to one airline, right? And then they gave her a month pension and said, good luck with the rest of your life, right? Which is insane, which is how she became a party clown. She was like, I gotta make money while I put this makeup on. Like, she figured it out somehow, you know? But I realized, like, after that, she became a hoarder. She started holding on to things, right? And I kept going to her house. And every time I go to her house, there'd be more and more boxes, more and more boxes. I never really understood it. I never understood why she had so many things, right? And I'd be like, why do you need this newspaper from 1978? She's like, well, the weather was weird that day. I'm like, you could tell me that in a text. I could just figure that out. Like, why do you need this, you know? But then I realized, like, in thinking about her hoarding, that my family, all we know how to operate from are boxes. Like, my dad compartmentalizes. That's his big thing, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have dads like this, where like there's like a work box, and then there's like a love box, and the love box only opens on like holidays and your birthday. You know what I mean? He's like, I love you. All right, we're done. Let's put that box away. I'm sorry, I had to get that out of the closet in front of you. You're like, okay, but what about all the time? He's like, no, I'm in the work box over here. You know, my dad, he does that. He puts everything in boxes. He's a big box guy, big compartmentalization guy. Because I think if he were to open up all those boxes, I think he would realize he's overwhelmed, right? So like when my grandmother was sick, she's been sick for like 4 years now, right? Every time I tried to talk to my dad about it, he would just be like, let me tell you about work. I'm like, you're retired. Like, why are we talking about work and you don't even work there anymore? You know what I mean? He's like, well, there's a lot of work that goes into keeping the house maintained. I'm like, it's just you there. What are you doing? You know? Just kept everything in boxes, didn't know how to grieve. Right, so when he gave me that phone call on Friday, it's the first time I've ever seen him cry. It's the first time I've ever seen him open that grief box. And I've been wanting it for him for a very long time. But then seeing him get it hurts. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have that partner that you're dating that ain't shit. And then you're like, man, I really want you to get a good job. I really want you to get, like, if you got a better job, like, you'd be so much happier. And then they get it and they become a dick. And you're like, oh, I kind of want you poor. Like, I kind of really want you. Like, that's how my dad is. Like, now that he's grieving, he's just like, you know, I'm sad. I'm like, just go back to the work box. I don't need this from you, you know? But I inherited that from him. You know, I learned how to compartmentalize. And I realized that, like, my box is emotional hoarding. You guys ever do that? Where you're like, man, I really can't go back to that bar again because I had a breakup there and they'll know. Like, why? Why would they know at the bar? But I'm like, nope, they'll know. So now I can't go back to Brooklyn because I used to cry over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird. And like, and that's what it is. Like, that's what I love about New York, is New York doesn't care. You may care. You may hold on to things in New York, but New York doesn't care. Like, when I found out this news, I was walking home from work and I was crying in the streets, which I told myself I would never do. Just crying in front of strangers, crying in the street, and we get to like a stop sign, right? Like the cars are going by, and I'm holding it in because there's like a group of people around me, and it was like, go, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm just crying in front of people. Then I get on the train, and I'm crying in front of people, right? And I love, honestly, I thought I would hate it. I love crying on the train. There's something like, have you cried on the train? Yes. Isn't it a beautiful moment? A subway cry? Like, white women are cornering the market on Subway. I thought it was just Ugg boots and fucking, like Taylor Swift. They are cornering the market on Subway cries. Guys, we gotta start crying on the Subway. There is nothing like crying in front of people that don't give a fuck about you. There is not, like, because when you cry in front of people you love, they're like, please, how can I help? Get over here. I'm like, get away. I need to cry in front of strangers. Like, it's good. There's a goodness to a Subway cry, right? Because there's two types of Subway cries. There's a Subway cry where people do nothing, and there's a Subway cry when someone does something, right? You never had the second. The first one is the best one, I think. Right? Like you're crying, and not like just like tear, not like the Cherokee commercial tear. I'm talking like, ah! You know, like ah! You're crying, and then people are like, "This is my stop," and then they just kind of. That's the best one. The best one where you're like, because remember when we were kids and we used to cry in the mirror after like our parents would upset us? You're like, this is what I look like when I'm crying. Like, strangers get to be your mirror. They get to be like, oh, fuck, all right, Jesus Christ, on a Tuesday? Like, they get to judge you. I love it. The second one is when someone notices, like an old lady, and they give you a tissue. And then you're like, do I tell her everything? You like weird her day out. Like she's just like, I don't need to see this. I'm just trying to go home. And you're like, so December of 1974. You're like, why are we starting there? Like, why we don't have time? Right? I love crying on the subway. And my family, they always make me cry at weird spots. The weirdest place I've cried in New York City was in a Checkers. Mid-order. I was in line. I was having a really rough day. I think I was like stressed about moving apartments, right? And my dad does this thing when he opens his love box, where like he'll pause for like 3 seconds, and then just say something that'll cut your soul, right? Like he'll be like, "Hey Drex, I love you, man." And I was like, "Why are we doing this now? Can I get a checker burger with cheese?" Like I was crying. Fucking loved it. Crying is good, you know? Crying lets you know you're human. Grieving lets you know you're human. You know? This ambulance is going by. It lets me know that someone's dying. Here's the thing that tricked me out most about my grandmother, right? 2 things. One, when I got this news, my mom and my little sister were in town, right? And I thought, what a good time to grieve with 2 people. But nobody in my family knows how to grieve. They're worse than New Yorkers, okay? And this is my fault, I'll take full responsibility here, took them to a margarita spot in Manhattan that was playing good music to talk to them about my grandmother, which was a bad decision on my part, all right? And we're having, you know, like when families like, when they've been holding on to like an argument for years, and then they finally get a chance to let it out, and then it comes out in the weirdest ways. Like my mom was like, "Really? You think you're grieving when you haven't even been in Atlanta for so long?" And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Because I've called my grandmother every day, and she's like, "What?" And the whole time this is happening, we're hearing, "Bend that ass over, let that coochie breathe," and we're like, "Shake that ass." We're having the time of our lives. You know, my uncle raised hell in the hospital. Uncle just completely raised hell. He was yelling at all the nurses, all the nursing staff. I was like, I don't think he should be reacting like that, considering he's gotten this wrong once before. Leave this poor grieving to somebody who's had it right the whole time. Right? Like, he's yelling at nurses, "Sir, you thought UTI was dead. You did not know. Clearly, you don't know how to communicate with doctoral staff." Right? And the entire time I'm yelling about my uncle, I'm hearing like, "Ski!" when they see me and they try to sing. It's like, it's not a good time. You know? My emotional hoarding was weird. My emotional hoarding is like holding on to snapshots of people. Right? Like, for my grandmother specifically, like, I did a lot of work to hold on to the person that she was before she got dementia. Right? Because that's the grandmother I know. That's the grandmother I knew. You know what I mean? Like this lady who, when I didn't want to eat salad, when I was staying over at her place, was like, "I'm going to sit at this table till you eat it. And I'm more stubborn than you." So we're sitting there for 2 hours over cold-ass salad, fighting over who's going to win that battle. And she's like, "I don't need to sleep." And I was like, "You're old. You're going to fall asleep eventually, whether it be at this table or in the bed." And I still ate that salad. Like, I wanted to hold on to like the lady who like marched with Martin Luther King. I wanted to hold on to the lady that wouldn't let me have a Southern accent because she was a grammar teacher. I wanted to hold on to that lady. Right? So I had 3 conversations with her after she got diagnosed with dementia, right? So the first couple conversations were really, really good. They were fantastic conversations. You know, small things would come up, right? Like she'd be like real deep into something, and she'd be like, "Hey, Drex, like, quick question: do vacuums talk?" What? She'd be like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's just telling me to sit down." I'm like, "Who is telling you this?" Like the vacuum. The vacuum is anyway. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to you later. Like she knew I knew, right? The last conversation that I had with my grandmother was on her birthday. It was July 3rd, 2023. All right, I go home to go see my family. All right, because my family's whole thing is like, since you moved to New York, you don't want to hang with us. I'm like, I'm in a better city. You know, like, make Atlanta better, I'll come down. You know, New York is pretty dope. So I'm like, I make it a point to go see my family. Right, I go down for her birthday, which is July 3rd. We're having a July 4th party, right? We're all in the kitchen, she's blowing out her candles. I make a joke. She laughs really hard, which comedian to comedian is a win, okay? To make a comedian laugh, beautiful, okay? So I'm sitting here like, game is recognizing game. She sees it, like that's a good solid bit. They don't see it, they don't understand. They're not comics, they're civilians. Like I'm looking at her, right? She laughs real, real hard. And then she looks at me and she's like, who are you?
Hey.
And I'm like, no one read you my credits? Like, no one said, you've seen them on Amazon Prime? Like, no one said. And it broke me, right? It broke me a lot because I had done so much work to hold on to her memory, and her memory had done so much work to let me go. And it killed me. It killed me on the inside, and I was like, I can't keep doing it. To preserve her memory, I gotta take a step back. I gotta be away from her because the only way that I can preserve it is to do that, right? And it sucked and it was hard, and it made me feel like I wasn't there for a lot of like the big moments in this dementia, but like I get to be the guy who holds on to everything, you know? And I was okay with that. It made me feel good because that's how my emotional hoarding works, you know? And so to go back to this Friday, right? I get the phone call from my dad that she has hours or days, right? And I'm grieving. I cry all of Friday. I cry all of Saturday. Sunday I feel a little bit better because I gotta work, but I'm out of it, right? Then Tuesday comes around, and the New Yorker in me comes out, and I'm like, so y'all said hours or days, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not that I don't. Like, I want her around. I love my grandmother more than anything. I love her so much. But y'all, so if she hits a week, y'all lied. If she hits tomorrow, y'all lied to me. Like, you said hours a day. I'm prepared to grieve. I cleared my calendar. I'm prepared to grieve this week. All right? Y'all need to let me know. When is it happening? Let me know when it's happening so I can plan around it. Like, you know, she's closer to God than any one of us. Can he talk to her? Like, who? Can he be like, it's the 22nd? I'm like, okay, I can clear the 22nd. Like, I just need to check my calendar on the 22nd. Like, can we speed up like, can someone put on the ring? Like, so we know it's 7 days. Like, I just need to know that it's 7. I need to know. Mostly because I just don't want to feel it. Grief is hard. Grief, you just don't want to feel. You know? I said I had 2 really good conversations with her before that last conversation. Right? And one of those conversations, I had gone through a really rough breakup, you know, so I'm crying. You know, I don't know, you know, maybe I'm just not a good partner, you know? And, you know, she talks to me for like a good hour. She's giving me all this advice. She's giving me advice as if she knew it was coming. Like, she was like, oh, I don't have much time left. I'm going to give you everything. You know what I mean? She wasn't just giving regular advice. She was giving like 60s advice, you know? Make sure there's a hot plate coming home, you know, and then if the people make you use the back door, I'm like, we don't use that no more. Like, what are we doing? She's giving me advice. She's giving me everything. She's throwing all her, you know. And if a kid wants to laugh, what you do, suck a little popsicle stick, tell them that, bam, it's a winner. Like, she's giving me everything. Grandmother's telling me all the shit, right? And we play this little game. We used to play this game all the time where, I'd be like, at the end of our phone call, I'd be like, I love you. And she'd be like, I love you more. I'm like, no, I love you more. She's like, no, I love you more. I'm like, that's impossible because I love you. And we just play that, right? Until one of us gives up, And that particular day, I didn't feel that love. I didn't feel like I was deserving of love, that I, could handle it, that after this breakup, after this low in my life, that I was a person that could feel it, right? And so she tells me, she's like, I wish I could be there, but just know that even though I'm not there, no one has to be physically in front of you telling you that they love you for you to feel their love. It could be just in you having a good day. It could be in that your stomach is full. It could be in that the sun is shining a little bit brighter today than it was yesterday. There is love all around you if you feel it. Just know that it's there, and just know that no matter what, I love you, And I was like, why did you do this in a Checkers? Why are we doing this? And the lady's like, you look at it, I'm like, can you get a cheeseburger with cheese? And my grandmother, luckily, as far as I know right now, has not passed away yet. But it is coming, and I know that it's coming, So wherever she is and wherever she ends up, I hope that she knows that, even though I can't be there, she is loved. And I hope that her last days are a little bit brighter, and that sun shines a little bit brighter for her. And that if she does end up becoming one of those ancestors that watches over me, that she just turn away when I'm masturbating. Honestly, that's all I want. You guys have been fantastic. Have a good night. My love.